Okay, hello to those of you that already know me. Welcome back. To those of you that are not as familiar with me, my name is Desiree. I'm the founder of the Online Flourish Homeschool Collective, and I'm homeschooling our three boys in North Carolina on our homestead. Married, I am a follower of Jesus, and I've really been enjoying this homeschool journey and bringing y'all along for our homeschool adventure. And we're almost at the end of the year here. It's December of 2024, and it's time to do an end of year evaluation. So, if you already are in the Flourish Collective, then you will have this teacher student evaluation resource that you can go and download if you have not downloaded it already. Looks like that. And I am going to walk through my own personal end of year evaluation. This will be mostly for my oldest son that is 6. I have a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old. The 2-year-old is kind of just along for the ride. The 3-year-old is lightly participating, and the 6-year-old, we're full on homeschooling. And so he's kind of leading the way for us. And so my evaluation right now, at least, is primarily focused on him. As of next year, I will be doing an evaluation for each kid. So right now, we're just going to focus on my oldest. So he's 6, and let's go ahead and start going through this. Something to keep in mind doing an evaluation in general after do a certain resource or the end of like a semester or a year, those are all great times to do evaluations. Or if you're really just feeling like, hey, this is not working, yeah, all those are just great times to do an evaluation. And we're at the end of year time. So this is going to be kind of like a bigger overview. We're still going to use this teacher student evaluation worksheet just with that mindset. And it is helpful if, like, keep in mind if you're doing homeschool with them, you'll be able to kind of evaluate where they're at easier. If you're like using a lot of online resources, like, a lot of our resources are printout resources. And so that's stuff we're doing with our kids. But like if you're plugging in other resources that are like heavily online, you'll probably want to use like make sure you do an evaluation. Like some of them will have, report cards along the way, tests, things like that. You'll want to make sure you check in with those to see kind of how things are going, as well as, of course, paying attention to their emotional and verbal reactions to the resources. So I just wanted to kind of give a caveat for that. Okay, so step one, defining like what we're going over. This is end of year, so I'm going to write that at the top. End of year, and I'm going to make a note, Jace, 6 years old. Okay, so what went well? And it says in this lesson, but just like keep in mind where you're at. So we're doing the end of year. So what went well and why? So some things, I'm just going to be talking out loud while we go, and hopefully that can just kind of inspire you guys too. So some things that went well. Um, we've been using like the 1001 bug book, and I've been making some resources. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. If I have to sneeze randomly, I warned you. Okay, so the 1001 bug book, we've been using that, and I've been making resources similar to that too. And I'll be making more and releasing them in Flourish too for y'all to enjoy. That has really helped with numbers. So I want to tie in, it's just made it fun. So like the Y, I'm gonna do like a dash. So I have like a bullet point and put 1001 bug book numbers. And I'm gonna do a dash for the Y and put it's fun. It helps with like, I'm gonna do a comma, number recognition and counting. and he really likes the stickers aspect. So I got some sticker printer paper. So I'll be making stickers for y'all to enjoy with these resources too, which will be fun. Okay, so that's been really handy. I also want to do like some letters with the same concept too. Um, what else went really well? For me as the teacher, I want to always encourage y'all to pay attention to yourselves as the teacher too. So for me as the teacher, it has been going really, really well that, hold on, okay, I had to check my audio. It should be working. It's just using my webcam's audio instead of my like computer speakers because I didn't turn them on. Whoops. So hopefully this works well. I'll find out at the end. Okay, so what was I saying? So yeah, so to pay attention to yourselves as the teacher. So like for me, it's been really fun doing these like themed learning unit studies. So I'm gonna make a note of that. Themed unit studies, especially like nature. So I'm gonna put nature, common nature. And why? It just makes it fun for me and it switches things up. Okay, what else has gone really well? Play-Doh. Troy, stop that. Stop that. That's my dog. Okay, so you're gonna make me sneeze, Troy. What are you doing? Okay, so yeah, we were talking about that. Okay, so Play-Doh. Play-Doh has been handy for just like in general, like making things work really well with all the kids. Because, I have the older kid and the younger kids. And you throw some Play-Doh in the mix for the younger kids, and I can focus on homeschooling the older kid a bit more. That's just been working really well. So I will go ahead and put Play-Doh, whether they're like doing the Play-Doh activity with us, like if it's one of our Play-Doh mats or like the Play-Doh 10 frames, like they can just be playing with Play-Doh in general, or they can be participating and learning. That is a lot of how my 3-year-old has been learning, is just kind of through participation. So Play-Doh. So I'm gonna put a dash. It's like multi-purpose and works really well. I'll put like supports family learning. Okay. Hmm. What else? Hmm. So just kind of take a moment to like reflect and think back over the year, things that stood out. Cooking. Cooking is always a fun learning experience for us. I'll put dash fun. There's math, science, language arts, all within cooking. I really enjoy that. Um, Kind of more like in the life skills category. I'll put life skills. We've been growing with like chores. So I'll put life skills dot chores. Um, Independence, like independent, um, self-discipline. That's just been stuff we've been growing in. Um, and then I'll put growth. That's why, and progress. I've seen progress with all these things, but a lot with the life skills. It's a big focus for us. Um, I feel like there's something else I wanted to write too. Life skills, chores, independent, self-discipline. There's been growth, progress. That's kind of the same thing. It's okay. This is just like an organized brain dump, if you will. So it's all right. I'm gonna leave that for now. If something else comes back to me later, I'll write it down. Um, What else has worked really well? Just like getting outdoors helps all of us. I'll put dash, just like resets and fuels us. And we're figuring out ways to enjoy homeschooling outdoors more. So that will be kind of more in the next scenario. What else went well? Um, kind of like thinking back by subject now, like language arts. We talked about Play-Doh. So like the Play-Doh mats, that's been a lot of fun. Our phonics activity book, I've been really, we've all been really enjoying both those. So Play-Doh, mats, and then phonics activity. Um, it's just, it's been fun. It's been simple, and I see the learning. It's like grab and go. So we'll put fun, simple, grab and go. I've kind of filled up my box now, so I'm kind of like going on the sides. And if you need to go on the sides, that's fine too. Um, you can go along with me and do this, or you can just watch this, listen to this, and then write it out yourself later, whichever you prefer. Um, hmm. So trying to think what else. Because yeah, I'm going by subject now. So we did language arts. Um, what else? Math, it was really like the bug book. 10 frames, puzzles. So like games, just like gamifying things. Um, so 10 frames, puzzles, Uno. So I'm gonna put dash gamify. Fun, simple once again. Grab and go once again. Okay. So what else? Science. It's been fun doing some science experiments. Um, I was gonna get this kit on Amazon and I just haven't because it's been really easy just to do like I have a couple of kits I've already had, so I'll still mention science kits. Um, but like just being in nature and the stuff we have at home for experiments or building. Like magnetiles, blocks. So I'll put parentheses, magnetiles slash blocks. That's been really handy. History, we already went over life skills. So like history and Bible, like the Bible has been one of our main resources. There's some other resources I have like Peaceful Press that has some like scripture memorization. Um, But the doxology hymn, that's been really fun. We almost have that down. So like a simple, easy hymn. I like the shorter ones for all of us just to work on. So I'm gonna say um scripture memory slash doxology hymn. Um, and I'm also gonna put like our um like biblical holidays or biblical celebrations, whatever we want to call it. That's been really great with like connection. It's been fun. We've made it like community oriented too by inviting like friends over. Um, there's history within that. And then, like I was saying, the scripture memory doxology hymn. Um, We've also like ordered some timelines and the answers in Genesis curriculum. So we're just starting that though, so I'll let you know how that goes as we move along it. But I do think that just like having these different resources pieced together, it just helps the whole picture. So like pieces to the puzzle makes the big picture. That's my why for this. Like, because I have like scripture memory slash doxology hymn slash timeline slash answers in Genesis. So like my why is just like, these are just pieces to the puzzle that make the big picture work. Um, yeah. That's all the subjects. So that's a lot of stuff. Ow, my elbow on my chair. Okay, that's I can't even rest it on there. I have to like rest on the side now. Okay. So that's like all of the stuff that's coming up to mine. Um, just kind of doing a little general, just seeing if anything pops up in my head. Yeah, nothing else. Okay. So then, what problems did I experience and why? Okay, problems. Um, unorganized. So there was a point where I was just like adding in resource, making a resource, adding it in, making a resource, adding it in. And then I had like all of my resources in my grab and go bin. And then I was like digging through it all and it was too much. So I simplified it. So I'm going to put dash simplified and organized grab and go bins equals no more wasted time or dread. So I was like dreading having to go through all that. So that was a problem that came up and we handled it. So like I'm gonna put a check mark by that because so I know that it's been handled, which is awesome. Um there was times where I was running into like, homeschooling multiple children. So like multiple, I'll put multiple younger children. I had to kind of watch that. And some things that have helped, I mentioned the Play-Doh. Um, I mentioned like family style learning. Like we kind of, we can all play and learn. So like play and learn. These are just like the things that have helped. And also finding different times to homeschool. Like I can even add this in another area. Like the homeschool day didn't go as planned. So I'm just gonna write like something didn't go as planned. I usually do my homeschooling like after breakfast, but I also was doing it um like so after breakfast or after lunch or before slash after dinner even sometimes because if we had an early dinner because like it got darker and so we are having earlier dinners and so we were having a bit more time before bedtime and so I was like, oh, we have an hour right now, might as well put in like 30 minutes of homeschooling. um so like all these things have helped. Oh, and even at independent time. So like independent time. We have independent playtime, nap time. The youngest one always naps. The middle one sometimes naps, but is in a separate room. And then the older one plays. And so sometimes I was homeschooling him during that time. So I feel like all these things have been solved. So I'm putting check marks by them. Um, there were a couple resources. So like Yeah, there was a couple resources that didn't work. And it's not to say that they're like not good resources or they'll never work. It just didn't work for right now. So like the like I tried some samples, so thankfully I didn't get the whole thing yet. So like trying a sample can help. Um but the like teach your kid to read in 100 easy lessons. That wasn't really working for us. We have been enjoying the reading activity more and my phonics activity workbook that I made and shared with y'all. Um, that's just been, it's been more fun. Um, that's really the most simple way to explain. It's just been more fun doing this instead. We just, yeah, I don't think it was that fun doing the other. I also found like a phonics song. Um, so I'll put that above and put like phonics song. And we've even been doing like this Advent activity. That's been fun. So I put that up in the what went well section. So like as you're going through this, sometimes things will come to your head. You're like, oh, that actually needs to go in the what went well section. Just plug it in where it goes. So I just plug that in up there. Okay. So resources that didn't work. So yeah, I already found a substitute for that. So I'm gonna put a check for that. Wow, you guys, I'm feeling good. I am a natural problem solver though. So when I see a problem arise, I tend to try to like go at it and figure it out really quick. So I'm not surprised, I guess, but it's still reassuring to see this. And I hope that like this can be reassuring for y'all too. As you're going through this, it's either gonna A, show you some issues that you had through the year that you've solved for and like boost your confidence, or B, it's going to be like, oh, I need to figure that out and reach out and Flourish, send me a message on the Flourish Patreon page and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this, like if you're struggling figuring it out on your own, just reach out. Like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Do you have any ideas? And I'd be more than happy to work through that with you. Um, okay. I feel like that's all that's coming to mind right now. I can go through and kind of think about the subjects again. Um, what were the subjects? Testing out something right now. I have the um I have the older two doing independent playtime together right now. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we're just listening in on that. The oldest is trying, but the middle one isn't. So I might have to separate them. We'll see. Okay. So that's not necessarily a problem, but that is something that's came up in this year that like the middle is wanting to play with the older, and it's like they're like, yeah, we want to play together and not have separate independent time. And I try to encourage that, but also when the fighting comes up, then there needs to be a consequence of separation to remind them if they want that, they need to work harder to work together. So I would say that's just something we're working on. Um, I don't even want to, yeah, I wouldn't call that a problem, but like further down, there's what could I have done differently? And then there's what did I learn from this experience? How can it help me in the future? I'm gonna put that like supporting sibling connection, because a part of homeschooling that's really important to me is the family connection. And so it's not just the family connection, it's also the sibling connection, you know? So that's just something that I've been learning to like pay attention to. So pay attention, I'm gonna do dash, pay attention, independent, like co-independent time. Okay. And then what else? Okay. All right, we need to go back up. I'm gonna think through subjects. Language arts we talked about, math, there anything I tried that like didn't work? Nothing's really coming. Oh, like trying to rush it, like trying to rush anything. And this isn't anything that like I'm gonna write this in the what problems did I experience and also in the what did I learn? Rushing things. Just dash no. Like our kids are developmentally ready for things. Yes, there's averages, but also they're going to be ready for these things in their own timing. And so, like, I don't do things to the point to where they're crying. If they're really upset, like, it's one thing if we're like having some self-discipline, like we need to sit down, calm down. But if it's like they're trying to do something and stressing them out, and I've encouraged and worked with them some, and then step back and done that again and step back, and it's just too much, that's a sign that they're just not ready for that, or it's just not their thing. And so we back off from that and try something else. So, like, that's just a reminder for myself and for you guys too. I've talked to a lot of you that have been like, I expect my kid to be reading already or to do this already. And then I've even talked to some of you that are like, I was rushing it and then it just clicked when they were at a certain age. And that's older than what the like traditional school settings are telling us all now. It's more like around the 9 to 12 range that reading really happens. So like right now and like the, 3 to 8, we're really just focusing on like letter and phonics, that sort of thing. Like it's the foundational stuff. It's having fun with it, and then we'll learn how to continue having fun with it as they get older too, though. Okay, what could I have done differently? Um, and this kind of is like bringing you back to the what problems I experienced. It's almost like another, like it's if you didn't solve it ahead of time, you could kind of work through solving it here too. Um, I I want to say I could have stuck to my plan, but I'm also okay with switching things up. So, all right, could have stuck to lesson plan, and all right, it's okay to switch things up. So like those are really just reminders for me. One thing though is I could have spent a little bit more time. We were doing like 15 minutes the beginning of the year, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then the second part of this year, after things slowed down, really the last part of this year, we've been doing Monday through Friday about 30 minutes. And I could have done that earlier. Like 30 to 45 minutes, just because I was seeing the signs, but I was like hesitant because there's just so many things to do and it's so easy to like put it aside. But one of the reasons that I'm sure a lot of you are staying at home with our kids is to spend time with them and to nurture that relationship, and homeschooling is one of the beautiful ways we can do that. And so I could have dedicated a little bit more time. I'm not a fan of like hours and hours like ahead. Like I've shared, it's not as long. Like preschool's like 15 minutes, kindergarten's like 15 to 30 minutes, elementary's like 30 minutes to an hour, and like Jace is in the beginning of like first grade. So it's like, okay, we're going along the times fine, but I could have made that switch maybe just a little bit earlier. Um, like I just saw signs that my son was ready to do more activities, and I just had to build that self-discipline and routine myself and like mentally prepare for that and then delve into it like by taking action. So um like I could have done 30 minutes a day. I would say about 3 months earlier. So that's just something like I can see this and kind of like make sure I'm doing these evaluations a little bit. So like, what did I learn from this experience? How can it help me in the future? I could do evaluations. Like I only did a mid-year one and then this end of year one. So I could do like evaluations per season to check in. Um, or maybe even just 3 times a year instead of twice a year. Okay. So that is what we have now. Troy, stop that. My dog barking at me. It's like, let me over there. He's gonna have to wait. Okay. So this is an evaluation. Now I can take this and as I go into the planning part, which I'll probably be doing that next month with y'all, as I go into the planning part, I will have all of this information processed, written down, easy to reference, and it's going to help me in the planning process for next year, the homeschool year of 2025. I homeschool by the year. So, yeah, I hope that this can help you in evaluating your next steps for your homeschool adventure, your own journey. And if you have any questions or just want to join us on our homeschool adventure, go ahead and join us in the Flourish Homeschool Collective on Patreon. Wherever you're listening or watching this, there will be a link for it for you to check it out. And I hope that this just blesses you. All right, I will talk to y'all soon.